Okay, I left the theater talking to 4 different people, and we all had the same word, odd, because I think y Chase Liaki here with the Blue Futon reviewing 28 years later. So what's about pretty simple premise? We are 28 years after this virus of rage from the chimpanzees, from the stupid activists, shenanigans ensues, and now we have a father and son going to the mainland, and of course shenanigans ensues, and we learn some different things about life, death, secrecy, who's actually on the mainland, what's actually happening outside of the UK, and what are these 3 acts going to intertwine. Because I say 3 acts intertwining because it feels like 3 different movies. And I can almost say 3.5 different movies just because the last 5 minutes is so damn weird. Anyway, zombie movie, if you want to put it that way. Anyway, what I liked about this movie is the look of the movie. It is shot on an iPhone. You could tell it's shot on a phone by some of the angles as well as some of the aspect ratio, if that makes sense, and how it just feels like it's moving like a camcorder on a phone instead of like a professional one like what I'm using right now, like a Canon. You could just kind of tell, and it kind of was jarring for a little bit of like, okay, I feel like I'm not getting the whole picture I should be getting, and it was bothering me. However, you kind of get used to it. There are some cool shots, especially with some people, like one on the back. You see it in the trailer and things like that. Pretty damn dope. Also, the editing. The editing is also jarring but fun, especially when people get the kills. It's like a da-da-da-da. I don't know how to say it, but it's like a shutter death, where you see like 3 different, shots of the death, but like boom, boom, boom type of editing. So I think that was pretty cool when dealing with that. The actors, everyone involved, no complaints. The kid, we have Aaron Taylor Johnson, we have Jodie Comer, who's also going to be in F1 next week, as well as Ralph Fiennes. No issues with these people whatsoever. We also have some side characters that are just there to be there and really add not a lot to the story. So rather than having a fantastic first and third act, this is a weird movie. So the first act, why I loved it. The father-son relationship of going to the mainland for the first time. That is the first act of the movie. You kind of get the side characters with the mother and some of the town folk. And it is very jarring at the same time, especially how it's edited, dealing with like some songs, what's going on outside with an alpha and things like that. Which with the alphas, the only reason I can only guess they're alphas because they have massive dicks. Alphas have massive penises. So if you're average, you ain't a freaking alpha. Let's put it that way. Okay, so that is what we have for the first, act of the story. Fantastic, love it. So it goes to a way where the son doesn't like what something the father did and takes the mother to do something in the outskirts. And you see it in the trailers where it's like the son and the mother with the gas station scene and things like that. So something's going to happen there. And you kind of could just tell what is occurring with one of the characters just because of the side effects and things that maybe I've seen in my personal real life where I'm like, okay, I know exactly what that is. And then, but that second act just felt like a very different movie because we're also bringing this Swedish special forces team, which they really don't say why. Okay, well, because something happened to their boat. That's why they're on the mainland and they're quarantined. They're never getting off. But that just makes me wonder, like, what is happening outside of the mainland UK? Is the world just normal and just UK's fucked? And that's really got me curious of, like, is it just a UK thing and UK's just SOL? So, I mean, migration might be good for UK at this point. But, okay, that storyline with the Swedish soldier and then a baby. And it's just that one, the second act was just so convoluted and messed up. And it was just very hard for me to believe this mother-son relationship going into the wild while seeing what we saw in Act 1. It was just like too perfect for Act 2 to meet all these people and the people come at the right time. Same with the alphas. It just felt very just safe and simple, but yet convoluted at the same time, if that really makes sense. Of that storyline, I was just not meshing. The second act, I was just not messing with this film. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I don't know if it was the dialogue. I know it was the dialogue, and just believing it. I was like, no, this kid was having trouble with the first act, like with a father who really knows what he's doing, but now he's like perfect sharpshooter at the same time with his. So, okay. Anyway, Fiennes enters the movie. Fantastic. That makes it go up, and you're like, okay, the movie's getting a shit ton better. But then it's also getting a shit ton better because we learn about a diagnosis. We learn about what he's doing and what he believes in about death and everything like that. I mean, fantastic dialogue, fantastic acting. And that's where I knew what was happening to one of the characters. I was like, yep, I know what he's looking for. I know what's about to occur. And it's jarring. It is grim. It is bleak about like what like is occurring with some of these bones. That's all I'm going to say. And that putting that 12-year-old in that place of what that is occurring to him, just haunting. However, before that, there's something that happens with the alpha. Why don't you fucking... maybe I'm just confused sometimes. Like, you know, if you don't kill these fuckers, they're going to kill you. So why are you letting some of these people stay safe? Also, the Swedish military needs to conserve ammunition. Seriously, because it's kind of funny that they're just spraying and praying. Like, all you see in the trailer as well. But then one of the Swedish guys is in the gas station. He's like, I could have saved bullets. Bro, you could have saved a shit ton more bullets a couple hours ago because you were just spraying and fucking praying. Okay, so another shit I had to get out of my system. Like, if you have an opportunity to kill one of these motherfuckers, kill the motherfucker. So I'm going to say, because something occurs at the very end with the baby and another alpha and the mother. Like, it was all over the place. Okay, so that happens. You know, you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense what's occurring, even though how did, the son leave something at the gate when there's always a gate guard? Any hootamagoo, a lot of plot holes dealing with this movie when you actually dig deep into it. Okay, then something happens in the very beginning of the movie, you kind of see with the Teletubbies, and something happens at the very end of the movie. And this is where I think a lot of people just go, what the fuck? The last 5 minutes is a complete bonkersness. I just want to say it's hardcore parkour Slipknotty. That's all I'm going to say, and you're like, what the fuck? Once you see it, you're going to be like, huh? Which I've heard they're making a sequel like right after this, like 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Which it makes me wonder, like, why don't they make it 28 months later at this point? Or like, okay. I understand they left it on a cliffhanger. It's through in and throughout. But after watching this movie, after watching another movie, after driving home, I don't see how critics are giving this a 5 out of 5. Like, I went on Rotten Tomato, and there is a shit ton of 5 out of 5s, 4.5 out of 5s, 5 out of 5s, 5 out of 5s. I don't see it whatsoever. Yes, there's fantastic humanistic elements to it, as well as something happens in the very beginning with them editing old footages of war and or movies about how people are fighting and how this virus is actually taking us back to the fighting with bow and arrows and taking us technology back, and how we are de-evolving, a de-evolution of the human race, and you could put it that way. However, when thinking about that, is this only affecting the UK? Because it seems like Sweden is fine and doing their own little shit. So I understand what they're trying to go for, but at the same time, I'm like, I think there's way too many plot holes and way too many WTF moments where I'm like, okay. So when thinking about this movie, I love the first act. I hated the second act. I really liked the third act. The last 5 minutes just totally took me out of the movie. It's going to be hard to recommend this movie. I think you will like it if you like the other two movies. But again, it is odd, and I don't think a lot of people are going to expect this movie. And I do think the critics or the audience score of this movie is going to be in the 60s. So 28 years later, we'll receive a 3 out of 5 with Futon. It was at 60%. We'll see the critics and user scores gave this one. Critics a 92% right now with 131. Audience score a 67 with over 250. Critic consensus. 28 years later taps into contemporary anxieties with a ferocious urgency of someone infected with rage virus, delivering a haunting and visceral thrill ride that defies expectations. Um, I I think some people are saying like the 4 out of 5, a 3 out of 5, a 4 out of 5. One guy says the second half, like the last 10 minutes, goes so far off the rails. It's done, but it's done. No, like this is a hard movie to recommend. This really is because I think people were expecting something else and they're getting something completely, totally different. 92, 67, 60. Chase Soccer, the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm on this Futontopia. You Blue Tony. Thank you for watching. For a great day. I'm going to watch this today, tomorrow, a week from now, a month, or a year from now. Every single freaking one of you. Peace and love. Peace and love. And are you going to wait 28 years to watch this film?